Hey, good morning or good evening, whenever you're watching. Interpersonal communication, uh, Maslow, part two, or as they say in Spanish, Maslow, part dos. Okay, hi. Yeah. Oh, I know we're not supposed to wear hats in school, but we ain't in school. Okay, and my hair's bugging me. I'm getting it all cut off. No, no, no. But okay, Maslow, part two. Yesterday, we chatted about parts one, two, and three as part one of Maslow. Today, I'm going to get you up into that middle sort of echelon of Maslow for part two. All right, so yesterday, I should probably say it like this. We talked about, the stage one, two, and three as we're building from the bottom up. All right, we talked about the physical needs of all human beings, including air, okay, water, shelter from the storm. We talked about that second layer being safety. That's why the TSA exists and locks on our doors and the police force and crosswalks and things like that. We left you yesterday considering that third layer, okay? The physical, the safety, and then the love and belonging layer. And the fact that all human beings really love more than anything the connection with other human beings and to be self actualized in Maslowian terms, we need to be connected and feel like we belong. We need to be connected and feel like we are loving and loved. All right? And that will get us there. And Tony, yesterday, Tony was being, loved, or his needs at that level were being fulfilled. Tina, by the familiar unit, like I said, mother, father, whoever scoops us up after we're born, the surrogates and the grandparents. Okay, so we have that love and belonging layer of Maslow met when we're 2 and 4 and 6, like I said yesterday, by the family unit or the surrogate family, whoever scoops us up when we're kids. Um, there, hyperspeed recap of what we've talked about. Now, things are going to get a little bit kind of dicey here in that center section, especially with the self-esteem layer of Maslow. Self-esteem. I'm going to drop in the Maslowian chart again here, and I'm going to let you see that upper echelon, the upper layers. And I want you to notice a couple of things as we drop this in. All right. I want you to notice the dashed lines. Please notice again the dashed lines in between that love and belonging and self-esteem layer. And notice the dashed lines between self-esteem and self-actualization up at the very tippy top of Maslow. And we're only going to talk about that center section today. I'm going to let self-actualization go for tomorrow. But then also off on the side there, the squiggly lines of the catch-22 of Maslow. So let's first get into self-esteem, because here's what Maslow postulates. Here's what he suggests. Maslow says that to be fully actualized and create ourselves and emancipate ourselves from all the other labels that have been pasted on, to become as human, we need a positive self-esteem. Okay, so before we even get started here today, just understand, in Maslowian terms, if he was sitting next to me, here's, in all reality, he suggests that we must find some way to achieve this positive self-esteem. You need to look at the man in the mirror. You need to stare at that woman looking back to you in the mirror and think, you've had some ups and downs, you've had your trouble, but all in all, you're a good person. All in all, you're a good person. You need to, it's positive self-esteem. You need to think well of yourself. You need to value yourself. All right. So there. Now, let's go here. Look at the dashed line between love and belonging, please, and self-esteem or Maslowian self-worth. Look at that dashed line. And here's why I dash it. Again, the 2-year-old Tony has no choice. The self-esteem that Tony feels about himself when he's 4, when he's 6, when he's 8, when he's 14, that comes from that love and belonging layer. As we discussed in yesterday's lecture, or actually a couple of days ago, when we talked about self-concept, and I told you where it comes from, people labeling you. Okay, that's one place self-concept comes from. Okay, people labeling you. Okay, well, Tony has no choice when he's 3. All right, he's going to get labeled. All right, keep that in mind, please. It's external. Self-esteem is derived externally, therefore, when we're young, from that love and belonging layer. And yay for Tina. She's been labeled smart. She's been labeled a great athlete. Right? She's been labeled, oh, hon, you can do anything you want. Okay? But those labels that Tony has gotten, okay? Idiot. Good for nothing. Those labels. Tony is in a scenario where his self-esteem is negative. He doesn't think highly of himself. He's been told so many times that he's good for nothing, that he truly believes it about himself. His family has done an injustice at this level. So Tony, there's no way Tony is going to toy with self-actualization. Okay? There's no way. Okay? And herein lies this great catch-22 of Maslow, the unsolvable puzzle, if you will. Does everybody know what a catch-22 means? I mean, I've had some trouble in class where people have never heard this term or this idea or this concept. So let me tell you this. A catch-22 is this, unsolvable puzzle. It's like, oh man, that really doesn't have a solution. Okay? There's a couple of places catch-22, the concept of this unsolvable catch-22 puzzle has come from. One of them is from the United States Army. All right? United States Army, for the first time ever during World War II, decided that it was going to pay the widows of soldiers compensation if their husbands were lost in the war. In other words, their husband was killed in the war, so they were going to pay the widows, a monthly salary for compensation for having lost their husband. They sent out thousands and thousands of forms for the widows to fill out that would get them compensation. The only problem was that on line 22 of the form, the Army required the signature of the dead soldier. It was a mistake. The Army made a mistake. Yeah, it was a mistake. Okay, and they became a laughing stock. Okay, another place that catch-22 may or may not have originated as an unsolvable puzzle was in the book Catch-22. And surprisingly, that had everything to do with the Army also, especially the pilots that used to fly bomber missions in the armed services. Okay, there was a moment, a paragraph or 7 in that book where a pilot, committed himself and said that he was insane and shouldn't be able to fly. And the doctors that looked at this letter from the pilot said, well, if he's able to tell us that he's insane, then he's in for all rights and purposes sane enough to know that. So they still made him fly. Okay, now here's another example of a catch-22. Catch-22 is when you go to apply for a job and they say, have you had experience? Because we're only hiring people with experience. And you say, no, that's why I want the job. And they say, well, no, you can't have the job. So how do you get experience to get a job if you can never get the job because you don't have experience? Around and around and around you go. It's like going to the bank for a loan. At the bank, you have to prove that you have enough money so that you don't need a loan. Okay? It's called collateral. Okay? Catch 22. It's like, how am I ever going to do this? All right, so here's the catch 22 of Maslow. And this is where people get bogged down, and this is why people sometimes live a lifetime in this catch-22 unsolvable puzzle and never toy with self-actualization or becoming themselves from the inside out, all that they can be. Okay, be all you can be. Another Army reference? Joswiak. Here's the deal. Catch-22 of Maslow. Tony is being force-fed negative self-esteem from the love and belonging layer. Negative self-esteem. Tony does not think highly of himself, and he needs that. Again, like the starving man needs a sandwich. He needs that. And he knows, there's something wrong. He feels badly about himself. He can feel that. All right, but his brain is like 10, 11 years old. Okay, here's the catch-22. Every day Tony wakes up and he thinks, my dad thinks I'm lazy, good for nothing. Tony wants love from his dad. Why? Because he needs it. He needs it. Tony wants to be loved and belong and fit. So here's what Tony does. Every day of his life, Tony goes to try to prove that his dad's wrong. And Tony works really, really, really hard and finally gets a B- in math, which he struggles in. He struggles in math. So Tony brings home what he thinks is a phenomenal grade after working really hard and finally shows it to his dad. Why? He wants his dad's respect. He wants to be loved. He wants to fit in. Okay? His dad looks at the report card, gets a big smile on his face, and his dad says, oh my God, you think a B- is a good grade? You think a B- is a good grade? If only you were like your brother. I cannot believe you. Okay? You good for nothing. And around and around and around they go. Around and around they go. Okay? Tony actually cleans out the garage one day, in hopes of making some great points with his dad. Cleans his room, cleans the garage, His dad comes home, opens the door, Tony goes, what do you think? And Dad goes, hey, I think there's a lawnmower over there, and the grass hasn't been cut for a week. Lazy. Yeah. Just saying. Around and around Tony will go in that catch-22. Listen. Many of the abusive relationships that are out there are stuck in this catch-22. Okay? There's a place up by my house in Mendota Heights, actually it's in West St. Paul, called the Dorothy Day Center, and the only way to get into the Dorothy Day Center is to be a woman who has a child and is homeless. You guys are homeless, the mom and the kids. All right? And I'm going to tell you this like I'm sitting here. Many of those moms are in that place because of the catch-22 of Maslow. What? Yeah, listen. They got married early. They got married young. Okay? And the husband, the partner, is oppressive. All right? And I want you to listen to me. The husband is oppressive, pushing down the self-concept and the self-esteem of his wife, of his partner, pushing her down. Okay? All right? And don't kid yourself. She is going to be hell-bent. Every day she wakes up and says, today it's going to be better. I'm going to be a better wife. I'm going to show him that he can love. And he's never satisfied. And he's always yelling. And it's always negative. And now he's even into name calling. You stupid. He's pushing her down. Keeping her down. What are you talking about? You don't need a job. No wife of mine is ever, no, you're going to stay home. And okay, oppression. Don't kid yourself. There's relationships that are out there like this. They even transcend then into verbal abuse, physical abuse. Okay? And you tell me how good that is for her self-esteem, which she needs to become self-actualized. Nope, she is going to be caught in this catch-22, all right? Every day she's going to put herself back into this scenario where she's going to try to please. She's going to blame herself. She's going to not like herself because for some reason, her husband, Tim, her husband, Tom, doesn't find her of worth. So she's going to try harder. And around in this unsolvable puzzle she goes. She tries really hard. Today he's going to love me. I'm going to feel good about myself. He comes home. He takes a bite of the food that she's worked on all day. He throws the plate against the wall. He calls it slop. He storms off. Around and around she goes. All right? I actually talked to a woman that used to reside, if you will, at the Dorothy Day Center. Okay? And many of the women there have this similar story. They needed to feel loved. That's why they stayed. Tomorrow he's going to wake up and love me. Tomorrow. He's not going to oppress me. He's not going to tell me who I can hang out with. He's not going to tell me that I can't talk to these people. He's not going to tell me, okay? He's going to love my food. He's going to love me. He's going to see the hard work I put in. He's going to know I'm a good man. Tomorrow. Okay? And many of them have the same story. It's like, I put up with it for so long. He kept coming after me, but I would put up with it for so long. And then one day, he started to take it out on the kids. Or he came after my daughter. Okay? And that's why finally they ran. They ran. Okay? Now, the catch-22, all right? I'm going to show them that I'm lovable, and then suddenly, even after all that hard work, you're not so lovable. Okay? The catch-22 of Maslow. An unsolvable puzzle. Around and around and around you go. The dashed lines are super important. And this concept that she finally ran, listen, I'm going to leave you with this. Listen. I had a conversation with my grandfather one time, and my grandfather taught me some wonderful, wonderful things. He also taught me some things I had to unlearn. Remember? But he taught me some wonderful things. I told him that, I had a friend, Grandpa. I said I had a friend, and no matter what I do, this guy keeps, he keeps putting me down. No matter what I do, he keeps putting me down. He's he's like verbally abusive sometimes. I said, Grandpa, you ever just walk away from someone that's a friend? You ever just walk away? And he looked at me and he goes like this. He goes, well, I don't suggest walking away. I suggest running as fast as you can. Think about it. Think about it. Okay? If you have friends that are oppressive, if your boyfriend is telling you that you can't, hang out with those people, or you can't do this, or right? If you're being held down, don't walk away. Run. Those dash lines. Let's get back to those really quickly because I'm going a little over time. A lot. Okay. Let's get back to those dash lines. The dash lines are there because campers. Tony still has a chance. The woman at the Dorothy Day Center has this emancipating moment of chance here with those dashed lines. All right? The dashed lines represent the fact that our self-esteem sometimes comes up. Look at the arrows from love and belonging. Our self-esteem sometimes comes up from that love and belonging layer. Okay? But the reason that I dashed that top line also is that when we're 15, when we're 16, when we're 17, sooner or later, our brain is cognitively developed enough so that when 3 o'clock in the morning moments hit and intrapersonally we have conversations with ourselves in our own heart of hearts, in our now cognitively developed brains, we can outthink that self-esteem that's coming from the love and belonging layer. We can outthink it. All right, like I told you way back in the self-concept lecture, Tony has the ability eventually to say, hey, Dad, B- in math is the best I can do. I worked my tail off. And you know what, Dad? This whole concept of me being lazy, this whole concept of me never amounting to anything, Dad, I still love you, but you are wrong. And Tony gets to believe it, and Tony can invent then his own self-esteem. Those dashed lines are super important for this. It's slippery up here and slippery for a reason. Okay? If you're waking up and you're looking in the mirror and you're putting your self-worth on that face in the mirror, and it's derived by other people, you have a chance and you have choices. You got to think and have this introspective, intrapersonal conversation with yourself. Okay? And sometimes it just ends up with, no matter what they think, I am worthy. I am worthy. I have value. Might not know what it is yet, but they're wrong. I have value. And I will not be oppressed. I will not be held down. I will never be put or kept in my place. Because my place, whee! All right. Maslow, self-esteem has to be positive. It has to be positive to reach that pinnacle. And we'll talk way more about that pinnacle tomorrow. Catch 22, be able to define it, be able to talk through it, please. An unsolvable puzzle where Tony desperately wants to please, in this case, Dad. But every time he gets close, Dad slams him, so Tony gets up and tries harder. Dad slams him, gets up. The abusive scenario that I described, where a woman is oppressed, okay, and she gets up and tries harder. Why would she? Why would she keep doing that? Why? Because she needs love and belonging. She needs it. Okay? All right. Ooh, tomorrow we're going to talk about self-actualization up at the tippy top of Maslow. All right, campers. You know I'm rooting for you, and I love each and every one of you. Okay? You are worthy. You are.